Washington Journal continues.
Joining us this morning, Representative Buddy Carter, Republican of Georgia, a member of the Budget Committee, also a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. Thank you for giving us your time, sir.
Thank you for having me.
If we could start with the impeachment that took place of Secretary Mayorkas, you described it as your constitutional duty, I think it was. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. I don't know if you've been to the border. I've been to the border 8 times in the last 10 years since I've been a member of Congress. The last time was last week, and I can tell you it is worse now than I've ever seen it. And here we have a secretary who is failing in his responsibilities, and he is responsible for this. Not only the number of illegal aliens who are coming across that border, but the drugs that are coming across that border. As you know, I'm a pharmacist, a healthcare professional by training. And I will tell you, we're losing 200 people every day as a result of fentanyl poisoning, killing our people, killing our American citizens. Now, look, if we had a plane crash and it killed 200 people, we'd stop every plane that was flying in this country until we figured out what was going wrong. Yet that border is wide open with drugs coming across. Now, I mentioned that I was at the border last week. I learned some things last week that I didn't know before. First of all, now there are more non-Mexicans crossing that border than there are Mexicans. That tells you something right there. Secondly, the price of fentanyl has plummeted, which tells you it's supply and demand. There's so much supply now in America that the demand's not keeping the price up. Now fentanyl is dirt cheap. That is not something that we should tolerate. Mayorkas is guilty of this, and he should be impeached, and that's why I voted to.
Well, I was going to ask you for the specific things you saw, one thing, but specifically then what constitutional standard did Mr. Mayorkas breach?
Well, what he has done is that he has not kept his responsibility. What he has done is that he has the responsibility of protecting that border. Now, the Secretary of Homeland Security is different from other secretaries. Yes, he's taking his directions from the president, but it's his responsibility. And our Constitution says clearly that his responsibilities are clear, that it is his responsibility to make sure that that border is secure. And it is not secure. And that's why he should be held responsible.
One of your colleagues was on this program, Congressman Tom McClintock. He voted against the impeachment, and he said it because it would dumb down the standard for impeachment. What do you think about that claim?
Well, I have a lot of respect for Tom, and I know there were 3 people, Tom and Mike Gallagher, and I can't remember the third person, but nevertheless, there were 3 people who voted against it the first time. And I understand them, and I respect their opinion. However, I was convinced after listening to my fellow colleagues that this was the right thing to do. We're very fortunate to have as our speaker a constitutional lawyer who understands the laws of our land very well. And certainly his opinion mattered a lot to me, not that Tom and Mike's didn't, but certainly I took all of that into consideration and made the decision that I was going to follow my other colleagues.
You've probably seen these numbers as well, recent ones from Customs and Border Protection about the number of arrests in January down 50% from December. They attribute it to several things: seasonal declines, heightened enforcement, and efforts by Mexico. What do you think about the recent drop down, and does that show that things are changing, at least when it comes to border security is concerned?
What I saw last week tells me that it's not changing. I will tell you that border is a mess. It is porous. It is people are just coming across it. And certainly the numbers are what the numbers are. But I will tell you, you look at the numbers in November and December, and you'll see that we had record numbers of people who are coming across that border, not to mention the number of gotaways that we don't know about. Already, we've got 10 to 11 million illegal immigrants in this country right now. That border is the number one issue on people's minds right now. When I go home, that's the one thing they want to know about, the border and the economy. Those 2 things are top on their list.
This is Buddy Carter joining us. And if you want to ask him questions, it's 202-748-8001 for Republicans, 202-748-8000 for Democrats, and Independents, 202-748-8002. Text us, too, if you want, at 202-748-8003. Patty is in Pennsylvania, Congressman. She joins us on our line for Democrats. Caller, you're on with the guest. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, C-SPAN, for taking my call. Representative Carter, I watch you on the floor quite a lot, and you seem like a decent person. You do a lot of honors for your local folks there in your district. So I'm wondering, this is a talking point always. I understand that with the border, and I've been down there. I have family in Texas. And so I'm just wondering, if you were presented with a solution, why are you refusing to even bring that up for debate? Because I've looked at the bill, I've read through it. No one likes it, which in my mind says is probably pretty good. No one on the progressive side likes it for sure. So I'm just wondering if you would like to solve the problem, why you are not willing to push your leadership to at least bring it to the floor for a debate and a vote.
That's Patty there in Pennsylvania. I think she's referring to the Senate initial plan on the border board, but go ahead, sir.
And a fair question, I might add. I think that is a fair question. First of all, look, I did read that. I did look at the Senate's version of what they passed. I wasn't in agreement with it. I'm glad the speaker didn't bring it to the floor. We've made it clear. We have made it clear that we need to secure that border. We in the House have made that clear. Now, look, if you look at the Senate bill, tell me how many laws there are on the book that says after so many people violate this law, then it becomes illegal. So we're going to let 5,000 people cross the border every week. And then once we reach that point, oh, boy, you better not be 5,001 because you're going to get arrested. That's ridiculous. The border needs to be secured, and it can be secured. The president has the tools at his disposal to secure that border. He can put into place the Remain in Mexico policy. He can stop the catch and release. He can build the wall. The wall is effective. When I was in Tucson, Arizona last week, we saw the wall that Barack Obama started, the wall that Donald Trump continued, the wall that Joe Biden stopped. It makes no sense whatsoever. Yes, I appreciate Senator Lankford. I appreciate those who worked on that, trying to come up with a solution. I want a solution too. I'm not one of these who thinks that, no, let's just wait and let's use it as a campaign issue. No, that's irresponsible. We should be looking for a solution right now. You're right. We've got to compromise. I'm not going to get everything I like, but I will tell you, H.R. 2 is is as close to being a perfect bill as we can get when it relates to the border. And we need the Senate to take up H.R. 2, and we can get this resolved.
John's in Virginia, Independent Line. Hi.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Sir, I just want to ask you a quick question. If you're really serious about securing the border, the Republicans and the Democrats, talk to me about the aspect of work permits. If you all stop giving out work permits, when you think that will make a lot of immigrants stop coming to the border because they feel like they couldn't survive when they get over here? Talk to me specifically about work permits. Are you in support of giving illegal immigrants work permits when they get over here? Talk to me specifically about that aspect.
Well, certainly, certainly we want to look at this. This is part of the negotiation. This is part of what we should be looking at and part of what we should be working for. I'm in favor of the H-2A program. I've got a lot of agriculture in my district. It's important to our district. It's important to our agricultural community. That's different from those who are coming across illegally. Look, I'm not against immigration. I invite people to come across as long as they do it the right way. We want them to come to our country. I get very frustrated when I hear about people saying, oh, Republicans don't want anybody coming to that country. No, nothing could be further from the truth. We just want them to do it the correct way. And specifically, if you talk to someone who has come through the process, who has spent that much money, it's expensive, and it takes a long time. It's a tough process to become a naturalized citizen. You talk to somebody, you want to talk to somebody who gets upset about illegals coming to this country, talk to one of those people.
Representative, I want to ask you quickly. Now, the Senate brought over a bill, at least passed a bill without border security, $95 billion, money for Ukraine and Israel and other foreign aid efforts. What should House Speaker Johnson do with this bill?
Exactly what he is doing, and that is absolutely nothing. And because, look, we have made it clear in the House that we are not going to secure some other country's border without securing our border. When I get home and I'm in my district, one of the most frequent questions I get is, how can you justify sending money to another country to secure their border when our border's not secure? And let's keep in mind, it would be naive of us to think that there aren't people coming across that border, terrorists coming across our southern border with the intent of hurting us. Now, I think all of us would be naive if we thought that. There are people coming across that border, and there's going to be an incident in this country. We've got to stop this. We've got to secure our border first. I want to help Ukraine. I want them to be successful. I do not want Putin to be successful. Obviously, I support Israel, and I continue to support Israel, and I've always supported Israel. I want to make sure they get the money. I want to make sure that Taiwan is protected and the Indo-Pacific is protected. I want all of that, but we have got to secure our border first. This is the only way that we can get the administration's attention, and it's the only way we're going to be able to do that.
The United States has been at the forefront for support for Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan, like you mentioned. What message is it sending, though, if we're going to pull back funding now?
The message that it's sending is that we've got to secure our border. We've got to secure the southern border, and then, of course, we're going to help you. We have helped you. I voted for Ukraine funding in the past. I've voted for Israel. I want to help Israel. And so you know, it's easy to sit back and say, oh, you don't want to help those countries. No, we want to help those countries, but let's keep our eye on the ball. And the ball is the southern border. We've got to make sure that it's secure.
This is Bill. Bill in New Jersey, independent line. Go ahead. Bill in New Jersey. Hello. Go ahead. Let's hear from James. James in Illinois. Democrats line. James, good morning. Go ahead. You're on with our guest.
Yes, I watch CNN, NBC, Fox, and C-SPAN, and everyone says, Democrats and Republicans say we should do something about the border, and they impeached Magoyas. Now, Congress write laws, am I correct? So all they have to do is write a law on the border, but they will not get together for some reason.
Well, you're right. We could handle this legislatively, and we should, and we're trying. The Senate tried. They put together a bill. Unfortunately, it was not one that we could accept over here in the House. But as I said earlier, this administration has created this problem at the border. They can solve this problem at the border. The president has the tools at his disposal to be able to solve this problem. He can secure that border. He can continue with the construction of the wall. He can implement the stay in Mexico policy, as the Supreme Court has said. Make sure that you do that. Stop the catch and release program. He has a number of tools available to him to where he can stop this situation. He can stop this problem that he created in the first place.
From our Democrats line, Chicago, Illinois. Linda, hello.
Hello.
You're on. Go ahead.
Yes. I was calling to ask the rep a question. You say two questions. You say you've been to the border for over 10 years, 8 times. Does that mean that the problem's been going on for 10+ years? And the second question is, within the 10 years, what have you done to change the condition on the border? Thank you.
Well, first of all, yes, the border was, when I first went, the first time I went, I was on the Homeland Security Committee, my first session in Congress. I went with the Homeland, I went with the Homeland Security Committee, my first trip. We went to San Diego. We saw the fence there. Then we went to Arizona. We saw the rugged terrain where, you know, it is tough to put a fence up there. Then we went to Texas. We saw that long, winding river. You know, that was the first time I'd seen the Rio Grande. My vision of the Rio Grande was always a John Wayne movie, this giant river. It is not. It is a narrow, winding river, knee-deep in some places that people just walk across. Well, they're all different. You got to use technology and everything else. Now, I've also been to the border on 2 occasions with the Doctors Caucus. I'm a member of the Doctors Caucus. We've been twice to make sure that the unaccompanied children are taken care of. That was one of the things that I've done. Also, what I've done is to vote in favor of H.R. 2. H.R. 2 will secure our border. I don't know how many of our listeners have read H.R. 2, but I encourage you to. That is a good bill. it will help us secure our border. That's why what we've said we should do, a number of us have said we should do in our conference, is to take the funding bill that the Senate has sent over, attach H.R. 2 to it, and send it back to them.
Representative, you're on the Budget Committee. Congress is just about to go on a break. The deadline for partial government shutdown is in about 2 weeks. What's the plan to prevent that from happening?
Well, the appropriations and the appropriators, the Cardinals, have been working tirelessly. I understand they're making progress. We finally got that top line number. That was important. That top line number was difficult to come about. It shouldn't have been, but it was. It was difficult to come about. We finally got it. Now the appropriators know where they are. On March the 1st, we've got to have 4 of our 12 appropriation bills done. Otherwise, those agencies will shut down. Then the other 8 become effective or run out. The CR runs out on them on March the 8th. We've got to get those done. Again, I'm encouraged by the appropriators who are telling me that they're making good progress. Everything I'm hearing is that hopefully we're going to get it done. Look, I don't want a government shutdown, but that's not the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen is the fact that we continue this reckless spending that has resulted in $34 trillion in debt right now. Did you realize that the United States of America, that all told, we've got revenues of about $6.4 trillion? That means that we are spending, that's revenues, but we're spending $200,000 every second. The speed of light is 186 miles per second. We're spending money faster than the speed of light. This has got to stop. Even this fiscal year, the CBO has said that we're going to have a deficit of over $1 trillion. We cannot continue this. I'm a father, a grandfather. I'm not going to leave this legacy to my children and my grandchildren.
What's the possibility, considering the timing, that another continuing resolution has to be employed to buy some time?
I will be surprised if we have another continuing resolution. I'll be quite honest with you. The Speaker had said before that he was tired of short-term continuing resolutions. Keep in mind now, you've also got the Massey rule that we agreed on during the time that we were extending the debt ceiling and the Fiscal Responsibility Act that will call that if we don't have something done by April 1st, there'll be an automatic 1% cut in each department. That's got everybody's attention, too, because I don't think anybody wants that.
Let's hear from Jim. Jim's in New York, Republican line.
Hi, Mr. Carter. What a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you about what's going on over here. Usually, when I say what's going on over here, Pedro rolls his eyes and doesn't believe me. Down the block, I go outside and look down the block. The MS-13 chopped up 3 kids, okay? Now, yesterday they had some Democrat on there saying about how great the economy is. And if the economy is so great, why is Social Security short? For instance, I have a theory here. I have a lot of people here who lost their businesses to these illegal immigrants. This is no baloney, because what they do is they hire people off the books. So they're not paying into Social Security. And this E-Verify is a bunch of baloney because they hire people off the books. So you don't have to worry. You know, I don't know why they don't do what Eisenhower did. Operation Wetback. They threw them the heck out of here.
Thanks, caller. Representative Carter?
You know, here's someone who is witnessing firsthand some of the bad things that are happening as a result of our border being so wide open. And look, again, let me make it clear. I'm not opposed to immigration. I want people to come to this country. I just want them to do it the right way. We need people to come to this country. We need help. We need workers. We need them in our ag community. There's no question about that. But we want them to do it the correct way. The way it's happening right now, it is totally out of control. And that's why I'm calling, we need this president to step up and to stop this problem that he created when he stopped the construction of the wall. You know, it's almost as if when he took office, he said, whatever Donald Trump's doing at the border, I'm going to do just the opposite. And I know that they hate each other, but come on. This is America. We need to protect our country. The number one responsibility of the federal government is to protect our homeland.
Because we have a few minutes with you, I want to get a quick comment of you back on foreign affairs. We heard about the incident in Jordan that killed those 3 service members. Understanding many come from your district. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, if you'll notice, I'm wearing this purple pin here, the ribbon, the purple ribbon. Sergeant Kennedy Sanders from Waycross was. This is a project that they've started, and I'm wearing it in honor of her today. She's from Ware County, in our district, and her remains are going to have ceremony for her tomorrow, and certainly she was one, and such a sad story. I will tell you that she's a twin. She's got a twin. They were born a minute apart. And I just can't imagine the grief that this family's going through. I also want to mention Brianna Moffitt, who is from Savannah and our district as well. Went to one of the local high schools, Windsor Forest High School. She was a drum major and 23 and 24 years old. And then, of course, there was Sergeant Jerome Rivers from Carrollton, another Georgia resident. These were the 3 who were killed in the drone attack at Jordan. I had the opportunity to go to Dover Air Force Base for the dignified remains, dignified transfer of remains. And I will tell you, that was an experience that was one of the most moving experiences of my life. When I walked on that tarmac on that cloudy, dreary day, and I saw that giant airplane with the nose open, with 3 boxes draped in American flags, with American troops behind them protecting those boxes, and the family across the tarmac from us. It was one of the most meaningful moments of my life, and I will tell you, I hope I never have to attend another one of those ceremonies again.
Let's hear from Sam. He's in Kentucky, Independent Line.
Hey, Representative Carter, how do you do, sir?
Good.
My wife and I met in Savannah. We married in Savannah, and our son was born in Savannah. I'm a Georgian through and through, and it was an honor to be in your district and to talk to you, sir. Unfortunately, I moved us out of Savannah's 1st into Kentucky's 5th because it's a far more reliably conservative district. My wife and I saw the writing on the wall with the public education system in Savannah. We knew it was a matter of time before our daughter came home and told us some such nonsense that she was a boy or whatever. I have 2 questions for you, sir, if you don't mind. Well, number one is, as for the Budget Committee, it seems to me and everyone who really thinks about it that there is no budget reform without entitlement reform. But no one, it's a poison pill on both sides of the aisle. Now, if honesty is the true way forward in government, I guess, are we going to be the ones to bring it up first? I don't know. Is there a plan for entitlement reform, or will everyone continue to avoid the subject? And secondly, if I may, I heard a report on Daily Wire this morning that AMLO himself, the Mexicans are starting to clear out the border and send people south because of talks between the Biden administration and his administration. Basically understanding that this is their own poison pill, and it's going to cost them the election if they don't start figuring out the border real fast.
Okay, Sam, thank you.
Well, first of all, to your first question, a great question, because you're absolutely right. 70% of our budget is Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. And unless we do something about that, the entitlements, we're never going to get this under control. Thankfully, the Budget Committee right now, we've appointed commissions to look at this, to study it. We've got to do something for Social Security, not to cut it, but to save it, sustain it, and make sure and stabilize it so that it will be there for our children and for our grandchildren. We don't want to cut Medicare. What we want to do is to save it, to stabilize it, to sustain it, to make sure it's going to be there in the future. People depend on Medicare. They depend on Social Security. We understand that. We're not talking about cuts. We're not talking about raising taxes. Everything's on the table, yes, but at the same time, if we don't address those entitlements, as you say so accurately, we're never going to get this under control. And as far as the border goes, again, look, we've got to get that under control. We all understand that. This is, I think, if you look in what happened up in Iowa during the primary up there, it was the number one issue in Iowa of all places. So again, yes, we've got to get something done about it.
Let's hear from Vic. Vic's in Ohio, Democrats line. Vic in Ohio, yes. Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead, you're on.
Okay. He's not talking to me.
It's okay. Don't pay attention to the television. Just go ahead with your question or comment.
Okay. I'd like to know why they turned the Democrats' bill down to solve this problem, but as soon as Trump had something to say, they all changed their minds. And you're not going to get anything solved if you don't try. And they had an opportunity to do a bipartisan deal on this, and then, like I say, Trump comes in, and I guess he's controlling the Republican Party because they do this all the time. Mitch McConnell said back when Obama was running for a second term, our only objective is to make sure Obama doesn't get a second term.
Okay, you made your point. And Representative Carter, what about this perception that the former president's calling all the shots on this border deal?
You know, nothing upsets me more than to hear people say that. And I know that it's in the media, and I know that there's this train of thought out there that Donald Trump that we're nothing more than puppets for him. Nothing could be further from the truth. Look, I respect our former president. I hope he wins. I've supported him, and I'm going to continue to support him. I've endorsed him. But at the same time, this is about policy. Look, elections have consequences because policies have consequences. And what we're talking about here is policy. No, we didn't change our mind whenever Donald Trump came out and said one thing or another. We make our own decisions here. Yes, he has influence. There's no question about that. As he should. He's a former president. He's hopefully going to be our next president. But at the same time, this is about policy. Again, I go back to the one thing that bothered me the most about the proposal that was sent over is that we were going to let a certain amount over until we reached the point, and then we were going to stop it. That makes no sense whatsoever. Look, it's either you stop it or you don't stop it. And we've got to stop it. Yeah, I agree. We should have people coming in, as I've said numerous times during this interview. I want people to come to this country, and I want them to do it the right way.
Representative, there's a story this morning reported by the Associated Press and others that Alexander Smirnov was charged by falsely reporting to the FBI in June that executives associated with the Ukrainian company Burisma paid Hunter and Joe Biden $5 million each. If that turns out to be true, first of all, what do you think of the story? And if it turns out to be true, what does it do to the underlying cause that Republicans are making against Hunter Biden on Capitol Hill?
If it turns out to be true, and I don't know that it's true yet, but if it does turn out to be true, this is more reason why we should be looking at Hunter Biden. A lot of people ask me, why are you wasting your time on this? This is not a waste of time. This is our constitutional responsibility. In Congress, we are responsible for this, and we have to act responsibly. We should look at this. If this does turn out to be true, then it's even more reason why we should be looking at Hunter Biden, even more reason why we should be looking to see the relationship between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in the sense of what did Joe Biden know and how much did he participate in this?
Representative Buddy Carter, who serves the state of Georgia, a member of the Budget Committee, also a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. Sir, thanks for your time.
Thank you.